Welcome back to the channel, guys. As you can see, it's a nice sunny day, and all we've done for the last couple of episodes is a little walk around to see what's been done. So I thought today we take advantage of the nice weather and actually do a little bit of an in-depth into how to fit the door surround. As you can see, the door surround is not there at the moment because it's here. So when I did the chop, I simply cut the top off the window frame, hence the reason why there's a big gap there. I then put a relief cut in there and pulled this out in order to get the angle on the pillar. So what we're going to look at today is how do we make this fit back in the hole that is no longer quite the right size for it. So the first place that we've got to start before we even start thinking about installing the top of the door frame is to look here. Now the angle that the sun's at makes this a little bit difficult to see. Maybe if I put my hand behind it you can see a little bit better that because the way this chop has been done, the A pillar has been tilted in. It means that the pillar on the door is still at its original angle. So that needs to follow the profile of the A pillar. The only way to get that to follow the profile of the A pillar is to put some relief cuts in here all the way round to the corner there. Let's just get some of this old rubber seal out of the way. To the corner there, so sort of down at that angle. I reckon a couple, because I put a couple in there, we should be able to then hammer that down. It's important to note in here before we actually get started on the outside, because it will make the rest of that make a lot more sense, is that this door is not comprised of a single skin, but we have the outer layer here which is folded around like this and then spot welded along the inner panel here and then spot welded along the frame. The way I'm going to be making this is in a few more parts. So I'm going to be making the outside curvature there as one, I'm going to be making this section as one, and I'm going to be welding along the outside, and then I'm going to be making this curved over section as a third piece, or at least that's how I intend to do it, so we can get all of the strength back in here. Otherwise it will just be one floppy bit of steel holding it together, which is not ideal. So let's get the angle grinder out, let's mark and cut some relief cuts along here so that I can then hammer over this, and if it needs tacking in place to hold it in, I'll tack it in place, so it should just hold itself by virtue of the fact it's been knocked over, and we'll get it at the right angle before we start looking at how I'm going to line up the door frame itself. Okay, you can see now I've managed to hammer that over. The gap there is acceptable to me. For a seal, the angle, or the it follows the same angle there, and I will just have to close up these cuts. Maybe I didn't need quite so many cuts in the end, but either way, this will all get welded back up soon enough. So what we can do now is look at how I'm planning on getting the frame in there, seated in the right place to join up, because one of the benefits of doing it this way is that if the doors didn't fit quite right in the first place, when I set the chop, I made sure that the doors were square and shut properly. As you can see, the shut lines down here are nice. I didn't worry what the top looked like, because I can put the top of the frame exactly where I want it to be. I can set the gaps, I can set the distance out from the frame, and then I can just weld it in place and it will be where I want it to be, not where it's sat from the factory. So that's the next stage. Okay, so with a little bit of faffing about there and a little bit of wedging, I've set the gap now so that the door gap here is even as I can get it, all the way round. We've got a straight edge here which goes down to the base of the door. The door is shut roughly where the door will be shut, and we've got a square along there and that profile there, which means that I can now start measuring up for at least some temporary steel to go in here. So I'll measure this up, I'll form this to the profile that I've got here, and then what I'll have to do is tack it in place and then remove this little wedge that's in there. This one's going to be a little bit more of a challenge because of the way that the door is structured, but I should be able to get something in here temporarily, so I can then put something in the back temporarily, and again up there temporarily, so I can open and close the door, and then I can put in the finished pieces that will go in there. So let's get making some templates up. Okay, so I did skip the stage where I decided actually what would be a good idea was to weld in some braces here, so that I can actually hold the door frame in place vertically, the right height to keep that gap along the top. It does mean I'm going to have to pull that out a bit for when I come to line up the bottom, because you can see it's still a little bit floppy there, but we'll sort that out in a minute. Because what I have done is put together part of the front at least. So I said I was going to put the outer skin on. I haven't put the full outer skin on because it narrows a bit there, and I'm going to need to just cut that bit back out. A little bit more grinding in there, but basically the outer skin of that is in place, and with the frame braces in there, it's pretty strong. You can see we've got a good line, good profile there, and when I shut that in, we've got a good profile all the way up there. Might need a little bit of refining there just along the edge, although I think that's actually just where there's a bit of missing paint and no missing paint there, so it doesn't look quite right. But if I need to change the profile of that edge, well, I'll just weld in a bit of welding rod, but it doesn't really help that that's not quite square either, so it all looks a little bit off, but not too bad. So now it's a case of working on this bottom corner. I'm going to do this slightly differently, because what I made was a profile. Maths says, as I'm sure you're aware, that angles on opposite sides of a straight line like this, yes, I know that curves away slightly, so it doesn't follow exactly the rules of geometry, but it's close enough. That this profile here, when reversed, will make this profile here. And as you can see, it does. So what I'm going to need to do now is I'm going to need to trim around here and weld this in as the outer piece of here. So just a little bit more cutting back here. That's basically aligned there, and then that will help me hold all of this place, all of this part of the middle pillar, the B pillar of that, in place. I'm just going to lever that up and hold that in place whilst I then pull the bottom half down so it holds the whole thing in the correct profile that I want. By the magic of TV, that has now been cut out and we've got the space correct for this bit to go in, and it's almost like I measured it because it seems to fit perfectly. So just now got to lever that up, hold this in place, get some tacks in, and then we can come back and revisit. So that's been welded in now, not ground back, but welded in, and you can see we've got a lot more strength to the door. I know it's still got these frames in here, but that's because, as you can see, there's no inner skin there, there's no inner skin there, and there's no inner skin there, so I can't go yanking on it too much. But what I'm going to aim to try and do before I finish up for the day is to at least make this part here so I can get a bit more strength back into this back bit and just stop it tilting forwards and backwards. I need to hammer form a corner radius there, which is going to be the same radius as we've got there, and cut that section out. And then I'll probably also cut this section out here, because this is obviously, as you see where it's been sliced, it comes down and makes a little heart shape, which is not quite what I want. So I may not get it fully finished today. In fact, I don't think I'm going to, but at the very least it's going to open and shut with the door frame in, and we'll be able to step back and have a little look at the profile. So I've come back and done some finishing work. Time has defeated me, however, but if you look at what we've managed today, the door frame has a nice shut line there. You can see I've put the back part of this curved edge in. I've also put the inner centre in there. Still needs to be ground back, but we've got a nice edge along there. If I can open the door, I have put in part of the inner skin. Still need to put that filler part in there. I've folded over the edge of this to give it the same strength as and profile as the rest of the door, which means you can now open and shut it simply by closing with the frame, which is nice. And we've got a nice profile here in terms of sort of where the door is actually shut, where it's going to be shut. It all looks nice there. And likewise at the front, again I haven't put the double folded edge over there yet. And in terms of work on the outside, I still need to do to the top what I did down here, which is cut out this section and weld in a hammer formed piece like I've done there. But I think for today I'm calling that. I'll leave that little strengthening bar in there, not only for strength but also because it kind of looks a little bit like where the vent window is going to be. A bit too far back, but gives an idea of what the finished profile is going to look like. So I'll just chuck a little bit of paint over there in order to give it a bit of protection until the next time. Once again guys, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give me some more comments on my beard if you like, if that's what floats your boat. Till the next time, take care.